Hello, my chicklets. Thank you for stopping by. For those of you who listen to my Monday stories, this announcement is going to be a little bit repetitive, but I know that the large amount of my audience does not listen to those Monday stories. So let me just say real quick that I have learned recently that some people don't know that I have a Discord. I do indeed have a Discord. If you check the links in the description, it is there. Right next to that link is also a link to my Ko-fi. If you would like to donate to me in order to help me afford artwork for this channel, or if you would like to commission me for a story of your own, or even recording one of your stories, that information is also on my Ko-fi. As well, anybody who donates to my Ko-fi will get access to special channels in my Discord server. That first channel is going to be for monthly donors. That one will give you access to the stories that I intend to publish for any given month. And the second one is for my one-time donors. That will give you access to the pictures that I put up for my long stories before they are actually published. I would love if you would check both of those out. And if you aren't able to, that is okay. I really am appreciative of you all being here. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into today's story, Two-Way Cages. I don't want to do this, Patton said, tears streaming down his face. If that were true, then you wouldn't be doing it, Janice replied, leaning against the cold stone of his cell. He wouldn't hold the other man's transgressions against him. After all, they were all products of the society that had tried so hard to destroy them. However, that didn't mean he was going to give Patton grace either. It was his choice. At any moment he could unlock the cell and just let Janice out. Sure, doing so would go against his moral code, but that was still something Patton had the capability of doing. If he didn't want to be the jailer, he could give up the role. You don't understand. Except I do. Janice's voice was calm and smooth, attempting to hide the fury that was building underneath. I have been in your position, Patton, attempting to win the approval of those around you, attempting to calm them with false platitudes and empty promises. They aren't empty. Sure they aren't. Janice turned to look at Patton, only opening one eye, his snake eye. You promise care, protection, safety, but only if people behave, only if they give up their freedom. If someone is unwilling to follow your rules, they don't receive your love, and yet you claim it's unconditional. If you have to fear what might happen if you step out of line, you will never truly be free. It's a golden cage with beautiful promises, but it isn't real. It's not like that. Patton looked visibly distressed, as if he had never considered he might be the bad guy in this situation. Janice had no more sympathy to give. He had been stripped of that when he had been stripped of his power and rights. Sure, it's not. And I'm not sitting in a jail cell simply because I questioned the almighty king. Janice took a step closer to the bars, putting his hand on one of them as he looked at Patton. He's going to turn one day. Maybe not on you, but certainly on someone that you care about. You will think that it is okay, that he was just doing the best he could. But you will know, deep in your heart, that that's not the case. You will know that he abandoned what was right and true a long time ago. You aren't there yet. He closed his eye, going back to his relaxed stance as he stepped away. He leaned his head back on the stone again, looking at Patton from underneath his eyelids. He might be the caged one, but he wasn't the true prisoner. I do not wish you harm. So I hope that when that time does come, it is not a surprise to you. I hope for you that the sting of betrayal doesn't run deep, that instead it is the answer to a question that had sat in the back of your mind for a long time. He could see Patton cracking, but the man wasn't ready yet. He opened and closed his mouth, obviously fighting the war that Janice had lost long ago. He had abandoned his belief in an all-knowing authority. You're just a snake. You're just twisting words. I won't believe you. He wasn't ready to believe. He still wanted to stay in the golden cage that had been built around him, but Janice had at least given him the key. I am. He didn't deny that he was a snake. There really wasn't any point. He was, and most people wouldn't believe him if he said otherwise, but that didn't mean he wasn't telling the truth. Snakes weren't always an ill omen. Sometimes they were harbingers of truth that others didn't want to hear. Janice was confident in who he was. He just wished he'd come to that realization a long time ago. Maybe then he would have had time to get out. The man who was to be his jailer stormed off, and Janice opened both of his eyes, staring up at the ceiling. The ruins that surrounded his cell prevented him from seeing the future. The fates had been cruel enough to give him the gift of foresight while also cursing his image. The scales on his face made him look like the snake Patton accused him to be. No one wanted to believe a snake, no matter how many times he was right. He simply knew far too many truths that people were unwilling to hear. I don't need to have my foresight ability to know that this kingdom is doomed. And so was he. It would only take a few more months before the king grew tired of what he symbolized, only a few more months before he would probably be killed in order to make an example of him. "Promise me, Patton," he whispered softly, letting out a prayer to whatever deity would listen. "Promise me that you will protect the others, that you won't allow them to succumb to my fate." Janice knew that his relationship with Patton was strained. He almost expected it, but hopefully he would take care of the others. Patton walked slowly back to his room. Each step felt like a heavy weight around his ankle. Janice was an interesting character. He acted like he was dark and mysterious, but Patton knew the truth. The seer was kind of a dork. He liked to tease people and play pranks, and there was no reason that he should have been sent to the dungeon, at least not from Patton's perspective. But the king couldn't be wrong. The king fought for his people. The king did his best, and Patton would believe in him. Stopping at the top of the staircase, Patton looked down the long hallway. His eyes were unfocused as he stared at the area in front of him. Janice's words were ringing in his ear. Would the king really hurt the other people he cared about? Logan, Roman, and Virgil? They were his family, and Patton couldn't lose them. No, it won't happen. I know it won't. But as he walked down the hall, his hands continued to shake. Patton would believe in his king, but the fear had settled into his heart. Thank you all for listening. Again, that story was Two-Way Cages. I do hope y'all enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out my Discord, and I hope you have a wonderful day.